Louise Day Hicks was born in 1916 in a South Boston Irish Catholic community. Her father was well respected among both the poor and wealthy communities in South Boston. Louise completed her secondary education at Wheelock Teacher School in Boston, then later entered into Boston University for a law degree. She started her political career in 1961 when she ran for membership in the Boston School Committee, serving from 1963 to 1965. After, in 1967, she ran for mayor of Boston but lost. In 1969, she was elected to the Boston City Council by an overwhelming majority. The following year, she was elected to the House of Representatives and served a single term before returning to Boston. When Hicks got back to Boston, she practiced law and founded the anti-busing group ROAR, Return Our Alienated Rights. Finally, in 1976, she was the first woman to be elected president of the Boston School Committee and served 4 terms. While Hicks was in office, she took a strong stand against forced busing. Hicks refused to acknowledge that the Boston school system was in violation of the 14th Amendment. Hicks claimed that segregation in Boston schools was de facto, meaning that it was not a result of segregation laws. Hicks stated that segregation was a result of pre-existing social and economic differences between blacks and whites rather than mandates by law. Batson, head of the NAACP in Boston, argued that even though there were social and economic barriers between blacks and whites, black schools were underfunded and lacked the resources of white schools, so black children did not have an equal opportunity. She argued that segregation in the Boston school system was de jure, meaning it was written into the law and in violation of the 14th Amendment.
Hicks was originally compassionate towards the NAACP's goal of integrating schools. Louise herself met with black parents around the city and pledged her support to their objective. Soon after this, however, Louise retracted her statements made in favor of integrating schools. Seemingly, Louise had come to the realization that she had committed a huge political misstep, and that losing the white vote could cost you your office. After this realization, Louise flipped her views almost immediately to a harsh anti-desegregation mindset. This turn of views gained her thousands more of the city's voters. Her anti-segregation stand made her look like she was defending the South End and the rest of Boston.
Louise Day Hicks' campaign for mayor focused on preventing school desegregation. She said that she was determined to defend South Boston's neighborhood schools. However, her idea of a neighborhood school was not simply a school that children living in a similar location could attend. She implied that such a school was one where white children with the same beliefs and attitudes could be safe from the influence of black people. Louise Day Hicks used the phrase, "You know where I stand," during her campaign for mayor in 1967. It proved to be an effective slogan because it allowed every voter to interpret it in their own way. Every voter could relate it to their own feelings, desires, and fears. However, some picked up on the fact that Hicks was using her vague campaign slogan to cover up her racist ideals. She could not openly express her feelings of black people being a danger to white students, so her mentions of the threat of school desegregation were implied. Other politicians learned from Hicks that race could be used to get ahead politically. One could attack their opponents for being of a different race or having different beliefs, and they would get ahead. Louise Day Hicks was one of the people who started the desegregation crisis and soon became the soul of the movement. Hicks supporters viewed her as the face of the movement against desegregation and the voice of the white people of South Boston, and their belief that neighborhood does not only mean where people live, but the race of the people living there. Hicks's opponents saw her as a prejudiced white woman who did not want her race corrupted by the inferior black population. She became the symbol of racial discrimination. The fact that she used racism as a political tactic originally fueled her success, but at the end it pushed her movement into collapse.